and I think that's harassment.
It's not sexual harassment. I think it might be harassment. Okay, well, we're close, according to my calculations here.
I hear it was.
Ladies and gentlemen, 6 o'clock. I call this meeting in order. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call for a roll call.
Covert.
Here.
Crowner.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Lees.
Here.
Young.
Here.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to, wait a second. On our agenda, I'm going to ask if it's acceptable with the rest of the council to suspend our normal rules for number 3 and number 4 on the consent agenda so we can have information presented ahead of having a motion. Because as you listen to that, you may decide you want option 1, 2, or 3, or A, B, and C, whichever it happens to be. So if that's acceptable to council, we will amend so that we suspend the rules for those two. The water, is this the water one? I'm sorry.
On new business?
On new business, yes. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's not old business, it's new business.
3 and 4.
3 and 4, yeah.
Motion approved as amended. Support.
Motion support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Consent agenda has 9 items on it. I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We will go to council and staff reports, and then we'll have a community report at the end. Greg?
Thank you, Your Honor. May 8th, encourage everybody to attend the celebration of the partnership with the University of Iowa, West Burlington, and Burlington, downtown from 3 to 6:30 tomorrow night. The library, council chambers, and the Capitol Theater, with a reception following at the Capitol Theater. So we've got a good mix of folks going to each one of our presentations, so that's great. Continue to work on 2 potential housing projects. I'll try to get some more detailed and some answers on those forward. I'm hoping we can get one or both of those moving forward. Master Gardeners stopped in. They'd like to help out with plantings around City Hall. So we will take all the help we can get. And I've also requested or sent them in a note asking if the working with us at the Prairie site and helping us doing some weeding. If you go out there, you can see the plants are coming in, and actually that app that they recommend does work even on the small plants. So I took a number of photos with picture this app, and it showed them coming up, so it's working. While you're downtown tomorrow, I would encourage you to check out the west side of the Art Center and the mural. It's awesome, I think. It came out great, looks totally different in person, and I think Allie did a great job. So I'd encourage you to take a look at that while you're down there at the Art Center tomorrow. DC is June 3rd and 4th. We're still pulling that together. Meeting Monday to talk about infrastructure projects and information that we'll be taking out there. And, we'll be looking to put together another joint meetings with West Burlington, and the county after Memorial Day. Try to work with everybody's schedules and get that done. Most likely somewhere on a neutral side on the Burlington side this time. So that's all tonight, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Public Works,
We got done with spring cleanup today. Anything that's left, we probably won't take. Probably too small, or it's cardboard, or something that fits in a trash can. Jacob passes grade 2 in water treatment, and also is grade 1 in water, or grade 2 in water wastewater treatment, and then grade 1 in water treatment. And then Cole passed his grade 1 in water distribution in the last 2 weeks. Spring water main is pretty much done. They got grass planted, it's starting to come up. They got to pour one section of concrete in someone's driveway, and that will be pretty much taken care of. is all over, pouring back where they core drilled, all through town. Probably the next couple weeks they'll be doing that, and sidewalks or the road or wherever. And then we plan on filling the pool at the end of next week, so we'll see how everything works after we do that. So we are the pump. We do have a pump down at the pool that we know of as of right now, and they're coming to look at it tomorrow to get us a set price of what it will be to fix. So it's a pump that drains the pool. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Jesse, anything police and fire?
Police, we got May 16th out at Duncan. They're having the Iowa Special Olympics where we'll be participating again from 6 a.m. to noon. We do very, very well for the size of our community, normally in the top 2 or 3 of the state with the revenue that we get for that, for Special Olympics. So encourage everybody to stop by next Friday. We'll be out there again. Burlington Police Department helps us with officers and helps us, so we appreciate that from them. And then we have a joint fire training thing. It's this weekend. I thought it was next, but it's the 10th. Mediapolis Fire has a house that the owners asked if they wanted to use it for training, and they are, and they invited us, so we'll get some live fire burn with the new people that are in Firefighter 1 class. So that'll be up on Highway 99 this weekend. We'll send probably, right now we got about 4 people going up there, so for firefighters, so that's all I have.
Thank you. Anything from building department, Greg?
No, I didn't, excuse me, get a list, but hope to have one for the update. But Mark did note that permits are still coming in, so that's a good thing to hear. They're continuing to come in on a regular basis, so happy to see that.
Anything from Kelly? Angie? Nope. Okay. Well, we'll go to our council reports.
Well, Your Honor, we got a 4th of July parade coming up. Annie's covering most of that, but remember the parade. There is the parade, so people get online there if they want to get part of the parade and join up on that. So, these are words of encouragement.
All right.
And I also I found out that we're going to have 2 teachers or 2 people retire from our school system this year, and one's going to be leaving. Mr. Snodgrass, Mrs. Schmidt, and Mrs. Robbins, as I always call her. They always worked hard when I was involved with Barry, very supportive, and I just wish them the best of luck in retirement. And with Mr. Snodgrass, I guess he's going up north. It's going to be a big loss for us here because he's a great principal. I loved working with all 3 of them. Good.
Thank you. Andy?
I have a couple things. First, condolences for the loss of Jim Sleister, former superintendent of the school system, and his recent passing. And he had a daughter in my class and in Chad's class.
Yeah.
And, so very sad to hear that. Was always a very, very kind gentleman to me. So sorry to see that. I had IMON installed a week ago, so I've been on it for a week, and it's fantastic. So I'm glad they could get that done. That's a lot of money to put in our community, and I'm enjoying the service. So For 4th of July, ticket sales are ongoing, so if anybody has a group that wants to sell tickets and raise money, they can come up to City Hall and get that done. No cost to them. They get to keep half the money that they sell. Pretty easy to raise $1,000, $1,500 for your organization. And then a couple thank yous. Recent donations from Casey's, Eastern Iowa Light and Power, Pepsi, Remax, Ritter's, and then Two Rivers Bank, of course, is always our biggest donation every year that helps fund the fireworks and the bands and those things. So sure appreciate them giving to us every year. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John?
I wanted to bring up that the sidewalk there by the city property, went through there and dug it up. I know that you said that they were going to go through next week, but I didn't know if anybody knew about
think-
that.
By your house?
Well,
Or
the
across
city
road?
property, yeah.
I think that was actually, I don't think that was IMON. That was, the company's working for MediaCom. I believe it's was it,
Unite Private, is it?
what's that?
Unite.
The I can't draw a blank.
I thought it was them because they were coming across the road.
Yeah, and then IMON came across the road and then MediaCom, but it wasn't MediaCom working, it was their contractors came across the road to the same spot. But I'll figure it out regardless.
We have, what,
I
3
know what you're talking
different?
about.
Yeah, and I know that they have a box right there where they were, so I don't know who it was, but,
They have several all over.
Okay.
Both of them do actually, but.
okay. That's it. That's all I
All
have.
right, thank you. Therese?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Melanie?
Just encourage everyone to show up tomorrow at 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock for the presentations downtown Burlington. Should have some neat ideas that the students have been working on. And let's celebrate their work, and everybody's working, helping form the plans at 5 o'clock at the Art Center. So looking forward to seeing a lot of you there, and anybody from the public, join us, please. Thanks.
All right, well, thank you. We have a community report from 2x4s for Hope, and I'll have them come up to the microphone there and introduce yourselves.
I can pass about for you.
Perfect, thank you. Oops, we're breaking stuff here.
They fall off.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Warner, and this is my brother Lester Kistner.
Hi.
And we are the co-directors for Iowa 2x4s for Hope, and we are out of Fort Madison. We started our organization in 2021, and we presented it to our city council, and it took 2 years for us to do our first house. So what we do is we provide a home for an at-risk veteran. So the veteran pays nothing. We completely build the house from the ground up. And we provide everything, pots, pans, dishes, bedding, new appliances, everything you could possibly think of. We build them a shed, they get a lawnmower, trimmer, weed eater, everything that you could think of. And then right before they move in, we put food in the cupboard and food in the refrigerator. So it is turnkey ready, and it costs the veteran nothing.
Other than utilities.
So the only thing that the veteran pays, yes, is the water and electric, and then if they wanted internet or any of those things. But there's no mortgage, there's no rent. So we're a nonprofit 501c3. So everything we do is done by donations and volunteers. So what we do is we raise the funds, and then when we have the funds in place, then we start the process to order materials and things like that to start building the house. In our situation in Fort Madison, the first house that we did, the lot was donated by the city, and we built 2 houses on that lot. And then we are actually getting ready to do our 3rd house in August of this year, and it was actually a lot that a family had donated to our organization, a private citizen. her and her husband. So, you know, we don't have the money to buy property, so it's great if it can be donated, but, you know, we take an empty lot that you have already, or a lot that needs to be maybe cleaned up, and we clean it up, and it's a win-win, because then we provide a home for an at-risk veteran, and then we clean up part of the community as well. So, we can do a complete house from start to finish in 8 days. The first one we did it was 8 days. The second one, because of the lack of volunteers, we still did it in 27 days. So we did a house and completely furnished it. That includes sod, landscaping, everything. And we did that in 27 days. So the process for a veteran to get one of our homes is there is an application process. So a veteran can nominate themselves, or you can nominate a veteran. And so basically it's for a veteran that has no place to call home. Maybe they're living with a family member, but they don't have a home of their own. So they don't necessarily have to live on the street and be homeless. They just don't have a place to call home. And so there's an application process. Is what we do is once we get all the applications, we will actually do an interview with these veterans, and to make sure that it's going to be the right fit for what we're trying to do. And then we will, if there's more than one applicant, then we'll figure out which one is the most in need at that particular time. And then we just hold the rest of the applications until, you know, we get ready to do another house and see if there's still a veteran out there on the list that needs a home. So from there, you know, the veteran moves in the home. It can be a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom based on, you know, if they have a child or children. It's a Jack and Jill bedroom. What else? So the veteran, if they get into the home and they get up on their feet and they realize that maybe they want to, you know, get something bigger, or maybe they want to move, or whatever the case is, then we will move another veteran in that home. So our houses always have a veteran living in them.
You keep the deed?
Yes,
Okay.
we do.
Well, to add one thing about the veteran requirement, though, when the applicants, they have to provide a copy of their DD-214, which is their proof of service, and it has to show an honorable discharge. Other than that, they won't fit our program. So, and then as like she says, we're interviewing the applicants, we get to know what their interests are. So we design these homes, both inside and outside, based on our veterans that we pick interest. So we don't overlook anything. Now, some questions there might be, okay, what's it going to take to bring it to West Burlington? Well, there's several things. Number one is getting on the agenda, which we thank you for allowing
Yes,
us to
Mr.
come and speak today, Mr. Mayor, because you were at one of the
Other
meetings that we gave a presentation to. And thanks to the city council also for listening. To bring it here, like I said, agenda. Number two is looking at your zoning laws, because the square footage for these homes are approximately 600 square feet. So a lot of communities, it doesn't meet their minimum requirements. So the city has to look at that. And if they want to bring us there, then they've got to amend the codes to allow that. Fort Madison did that. Usually it takes them 6 to 9 months for them to do that kind of stuff. They did it less than 3 months for us. So they were right on board right away. And number two, then it's going to take 1 or 2 individuals that live here in West Burlington to be able to take the reins like my sister and I have in Fort Madison. They will be an extension of us. We'll be there to help them, guide them, but they live here, so they know who to talk to, who to reach out to, and then they got to take the reins also of doing fundraising. Because all the money that will be raised up here will stay here for your community's tiny homes. So that's what it's going to take, but we need the people to be dedicated. You can't go into this half-heartedly. You have to have a passion for what it is that we do. And the reason why we do it is because we're veterans ourselves. And we helped in Illinois build some homes over there. And my sister and I looked at each other and says, hey, there's just a big need here in Iowa as there is anywhere else. So we formed our own 501c3. And the reason it took 2 years for the first time is because we were selling a vision. You know, most people are touch and see, you know, what their money is going for. So, but once we built that first one, the second one and this one here for our third, the fundraising came a lot quicker because they were actually able to see what it is that they were investing towards. And we also give the community members an opportunity to provide and buy things for inside the homes. So we create like a gift registry like on Walmart or Amazon. And so somebody says, well, I can't come and help Bill, but I can go buy that washcloth and towel set. So what it is, it's also giving the community ownership in this project as well. We could do this by ourselves, be a lot harder, but when we would believe that when communities come together for a common cause, we can get so much more done.
Oh, you want me to start?
Yeah, and so
Actually,
now we
let
got a
me
little
just
short
show this
presentation there to show you.
real quick. Is what we do is we do 2x4 signings. We'll take 2x4s, set up somewhere, and then the community can come and sign their name, write a note of encouragement or thank you, and then these 2x4s go in the framework of the home. And so whoever the veteran is that gets the house gets to see all the signatures inside the walls before we cover them up with drywall. So, you know, it's surrounded by love, thank you for your service. And it's pretty emotional when they go in there and read that, just the messages and stuff inside. And the gentleman that you just saw, Dean, he was our last recipient of our tiny home, and he was 70 years old, and he had never had a new bed. So it's, it's little things that you take for granted that you don't think about until you sit down and talk to somebody. So as you see, we've pretty much thought of everything. But we are not, we're not certified contractors or anything like that. We do have licensed contractors. So we have a general contractor, we have a licensed plumber, a licensed electrician. We have to get somebody to do the sewer tie-in and things like that. So we do have to pay those professional group of people to do that. So it's just not, Aunt Mary out there with the hammer, and you got a crooked house or whatever. But, yes, so we do have those professionals on site, so, to make sure that it is, and we build those houses like we would live in them. And, you probably couldn't see it from the photo, but in the houses, we even put crown molding in there. So we have really thought of everything. So, and Lester had mentioned it too, but myself and Lester and my husband, we are all veterans. So this has became a passion project for us. My husband retired 20 years of service. We're from Iowa. We moved back to Iowa, and this has become just literally a project, blood, sweat, and tears, because it's very emotional, especially when you how many people can say that you built a house for somebody in 8 days and handed them the keys? So it's very heartfelt, and we don't get paid. We just do it. It's a volunteer. Everybody that comes volunteers, but we are very happy to do it. And if we weren't passionate about it, we wouldn't be doing it. So anybody have any questions?
Thank you very much for your service for your country and for doing this for the veterans. I was sort of curious, the years of service, what branches you two were in and the years of service? Army?
I was in Army Reserves.
Army Reserves? What years did you serve?
Mine was 93 to 2008, yeah.
And I was 1982 to 88. I ended up with a medical discharge.
Yeah.
I was going to make it a career, but I got cut short.
I like it how you request the DD Form 214 if they have an honorable discharge, and that makes it even more honorable for when they receive the home.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we say this is a hand up, not a hand out, because we want to make sure that, one, we're protecting our investment, because we've, invested a lot of time, and, after sitting down with a veteran and talking to them, they have to still be independent, and they have to take ownership. So, some of them, after we sit down, this maybe is not a good fit, and maybe there's another organization that can help them. But again, that's why we do interviews, just to make sure that they are successful. And something really important that we forgot to mention is once the veteran gets in the home, we just don't give them the keys and say, here you go, hope you make it. We keep in contact with those veterans on a regular basis if there's anything they need. Maybe they can't mow their yard. We go over there and mow it for them. Maybe they can't scoop their snow. We'll go do that for them. If they have any other problems, maybe they need a ride to an appointment or to the grocery store. So those veterans know that they can call on us if they need some assistance, or maybe they just don't know what resources that are out there that they need. And we'll make sure that they get, those resources and get in contact with the right individual. So it's just not, we put them in the home and here you go.
Could I ask you a couple quick ones?
Sure.
Do you have any idea right now what the need is in the area? I know you probably know Fort Madison better than here, but
Well,
are you
there's
getting
a
100
need, but
applications
the
or
problem
5
is,
or-
sorry.
No, just, amount of applications you're seeing when you build a house, like what?
Well, it varies. The first time, our first home, we only had one applicant.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
work with like the Salvation Army, other service organizations to find out. Because one of the things as a veteran, they don't tell you where to go, what to do when you get out. They just say, thank you for your service, good luck. these veterans, that we're trained that if we're asking for help and that's a sign of weakness, so a lot of our veterans won't seek out help. So that's why we kind of rely on organizations to help us, because they would be working with those veterans. The second home, we had 4 applicants. This one, I think we got 2 or 3 already, but still open.
Right, so right now, we don't have a veteran picked for our house
Yeah.
yet. We've put applications out there, but nobody has turned them back in, so, here we are a few months out.
And no other data from anything locally, nobody's handing you something saying, hey,
No.
there's
No.
50, we need help right now, and, okay.
No.
That data is kind of slim out there because,
fine, I just wanted to see
if
there's
you
not
had
a
it.
lot out there.
And then, kind of final question.
Sure.
The new law allowing for accessory dwelling units in Iowa, I don't know if you know about that or any discussions about how that may impact what you're doing.
No.
Okay, don't worry about it.
Okay. But, yeah, so anybody else have anything?
I got a couple, 3.
Okay.
So,
Sure.
so one of them was, I was wondering if they were prefab, but
No.
in the picture, it said,
Yeah.
it looked like it was stick.
All stick built.
And I had looked into tiny homes at one point in time, and it was like next to impossible to get insurance on them. Are you guys having a problem with that?
No, we don't have any insurance. There's a company we're working with, Moderna Insurance, and they insure the tiny homes. So we don't have any issues on that side.
So does the person in there pay that insurance?
Yes.
Okay.
That's part of their extras
Oh, yeah,
that
so
they
that
pay.
was what I was saying.
Insurance on the house, their utilities and cable or whatever
Yeah.
miscellaneous they want.
And then, if it was a new lot,
Mm-hmm.
do you guys pay for the sewer and the water to
We
get
do.
in there? or
We have to pay for the sewer tie-in,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's something we would work with the city on when it gets to that point, on how we proceed with that. I mean, in Keokuk, they want us to come here and they have a lot of land, but there's some infrastructure that's got to be put in before we can come and
So you would
build.
expect the city to put the infrastructure in
Yeah.
to that point, and you just pay for the tie-in?
Yeah.
Are you looking to do any more in Fort Madison?
Well, as long as we keep raising the funds and, because the key is, now that it's getting easier because they can actually see where their money's going, and that's important for a lot of the community, is they can see. It's easier to hand somebody money, but you really don't know where it goes. But now they can see what their money has paid for. So if, we keep doing fundraisers and we raise the money, we will keep building, but we're definitely not opposed to building, it's not just in Fort Madison, we will build, there's a need in other communities. So, it's just a matter of raising the funds to build another house.
Yeah, we kind of have a lofty goal for us. We'd like to see at least one home in all 99 counties in Iowa. It's a big goal, but it can be attained.
Well, I was just,
Community support.
so if a person, let's just say on Fort Madison or here, or if you had a piece of ground that was, you could put 30 tiny homes on. And that was donated, have you ever thought about a community of tiny homes for,
We have, but what we want to do, we want to get away from this persona and stigmatism, because if you get too many houses in an area, then that gets labeled as though that's a veterans, community,
what I
and that's
was
not what we
wondering.
want to do. We want to take our veterans, reintegrate them so they feel like they belong to the community and not isolated. So that's why we try to build at least 1 or 2 homes on the lot. So that way, the veterans got another support system, they got another veteran there that they can talk to.
You know what's interesting is that you're not just building the house,
no?
you're supporting a person, and you're doing a
Exactly.
great job doing that. Did you have background on that before, or did he just decided this is what we're gonna do? and
No, it was just something that we had just decided
No.
we wanted to do, because it's the right thing to do. Our veterans deserve the very best because of what they were willing to do for us, so it's our way to give back. And we've learned a lot through all this process.
Right, and there was another organization in Illinois, and actually, our cousin and her husband started that, and that's kind of how we got involved with this. And they did 12 houses in Illinois in different communities, and we helped with 6 of those. And again, we just went and volunteered, and they didn't really, they were not veterans themselves, but they were just trying to do a great thing, you know, community service. But after Lester and I were, we had did volunteered on all these houses, we're like, you know what? We need to do that in our own community because there's veterans everywhere, you know. And again, you might not know where they are, you don't know what the statistics are, but yeah, it's huge. We have board members too, but as far as the board members, Lester and I and my husband are the only veterans. And then everybody else that's on our board, they're just, you know, they support what we do and they think it's a great thing, you know. So.
And my final question would be, minus the sewer and the water and the, what's the general cost?
General cost from the start for concrete work and all the services necessary, it's approximately $70,000.
70?
And that's everything, that's completely furnished, all of it.
Yeah, concrete, that's landscaping,
All of
sewer, yeah, all of it.
And this year, we're our third home. We've got a different design that we're using. The one you saw in the presentation was 16-foot wide by 40-foot long. The one that we just redesigned, it took about a year to get it done, is 20-foot wide by 28 feet deep. And the reason we wanted to do that is so that we have a couple options depending on the size of the lot. So we'd have at least a plan that would fit.
How many 2x4 organizations are there nationwide, or is it a nationwide
I don't,
organization? or-
as far as we're aware of, there isn't any other
Okay.
one that we know of.
You know, there might be other organizations that build tiny homes, but their homes may be different.
Okay.
Some of them, they'll build, like you had talked, a village, where they're smaller, like 200 or 300 square feet, not very big. But none like what we do.
Gotcha.
We're the first in Iowa.
Okay, thanks. And you didn't do anything with Habitat for Humanity, or?
No, and see, a lot of people mistake us for Habitat for Humanity. So Habitat for Humanity is a loan, usually, that they have to pay
The
back.
person ends up owning it.
Yes.
Well, let's have the same model, that's why
Right.
I
Yeah.
asked.
And so, in our case, we raise the funds before we build the house.
Gotcha.
So then that money pays for everything up front.
Yeah, that's to ensure that once it's done, there's no bills on it, no mortgage, nothing. It's already clear and free.
And you guys are, the 2x4 organization owns the building itself and the land that it's on?
Pardon me, say that
Who
again?
owns the house?
Oh, we do. The organization.
The organization, that's what I meant.
Yeah, our organization will maintain the ownership of them because we want to ensure that there's always going to be a veteran. If we just turned over the deed to the veteran, who's to say tomorrow they wouldn't go sell it? And you wouldn't know who's going to go into that house.
Gotcha.
That's not what we're about. We want to make sure it's always for veterans.
Gotcha. It just coincidentally today, just at the mall, was the Veterans Summit. I don't know if you guys had a table there or
Yeah.
not, but it was an all-day thing, about 20, 25
Sure.
organizations there, all the ones who are available to help veterans.
I gotcha.
Oh.
Oh,
I don't know if you've worked with the Louisa County veterans, or not, Lee County and Des Moines County veterans.
Yeah, we
Lee
work with
County,
Lee
yes,
County.
Mickey Sugars
Gotcha.
from Lee, yeah.
And again, there were 20, 25 organizations, they're all there to help veterans,
Oh,
so
we
it
missed
was
that.
a good resource to
Yeah,
have
we missed that.
available in our community. I'm like, oh darn, you missed it.
Yeah. We
did.
Would have been good to have it, so, thank you.
Did somebody else, did you have some questions back there? Oh, okay.
Well, I commend you on what you're doing, and I think it's a fantastic idea, and I hope somebody who watches the meeting, or we have flyers or something, that other people would pick up the call up here and get it going in
Yeah.
Des Moines County.
Yeah,
We'd love
and-
to do that.
If you do Facebook, you can follow us on Facebook. We have a Facebook page called Iowa 2x4s for Hope. So, and we put all the information out there on that page and our website on any fundraising events we got going on. When we go to build, we'll put out there a list, okay, say we need 5 painters.
Gotcha.
They can go up and sign up for specific jobs that they want.
Hey, what's the profile of the second veteran that you have in the second home?
That was Dean.
That was Dean, okay, then the first home. You have
Oh,
two
the first
veterans,
home?
yes, right?
The very first home, his name is Josh, and we worked with the Salvation Army because that's who he was working with at the time. And he didn't have any place to call home. It just, his wife and kids had left him, so had no means to fight because the judge wasn't going to hear it because he didn't have a place to call home. So that's who we picked
he
for the
was
first
from-
home. And
He was from Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
actually, and he moved here with his wife. And then he was kind of stuck here. So yeah, he was in a bad situation.
It's a younger person, I take
40,
that.
he was over
40s,
40.
okay.
over
All right.
40.
Yeah,
And now he's doing great. He's got a full-time job. He's able to start fighting for custody of his kids because he does have a place. So it's a success
Yeah.
story there.
and so he has met somebody else, and now he's engaged.
Oh.
So, yeah, he's doing great,
Good.
you know.
He just needed to help up.
He did,
That's it.
exactly, just to help up, a handout, you know, hand up.
I believe the new ordinance is 500 square feet minimum, and the new zoning ordinance is for discussion tonight, so we would meet your requirements.
Awesome.
Sure, perfect, yeah, because,
Like I said before, then now the next step would be you'd have to have 1 or 2 people that live here that want to take the reins here.
You bet.
Because, you know, we could do it, but we'd be stretching ourselves thin over time, especially if we want to get it all 99 counties.
but, you know, it's not, we're gonna be there.
Yeah.
We're gonna help you build the house
Nope.
and do all of those things, you know, because it's still our project.
And we help with the process
Right.
all the way through. They're just an extension of us.
Does anybody else have any questions? No?
We want to thank you very much
Thank
for
you
the
very
presentation
much.
and your
Yes,
service.
Thanks for all you do.
And I would
Appreciate
also
it.
encourage you, Mr. Mayor, to actually reach out to our mayor, Matt Morfeld.
Okay.
And he can kind of give you, you know, his perspective on, you know, what we've done for the community and things like that. So, you know, we're pretty excited. We're doing the third
one,
house
yeah.
now. So.
It was kind of nice, because on the
yeah.
first home, he came, and he was actually helping us build the house. On the first one, and the second he showed up too. And for the veteran, what we do, we make a big deal out of it after the house is finished. We do a whole ribbon cutting ceremony thing. We have somebody will post the colors, because we put the American flag in their branch of service, hang them on the front of their house. And we have somebody sing the national anthem. We have a pastor that will bless the house. And then what we do is, before the public gets to see, we take the veteran in first and let them take that in, because it's pretty emotional when you walk in there. And even though this is our 9th one we've been involved with, but it's still emotional because you get to see the look on their face that this is, it's overwhelming for them. And then what we do is, after that, then we open the house up for a few hours for the general public to come in and see what it is that they've given to.
Yeah, so they can see the finished house.
Yep.
Good idea. Nice.
So, and again, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for inviting
Yes.
us. We appreciate your guys' time. So yeah, you guys have our numbers, and if you have any questions or anything you want to get a hold of us, please let us know. And, I mean, we'd love to come in here and build a house for you, or for a veteran, I should say.
Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah.
That's it.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Did you want to leave some of the flyers?
We can,
Yeah, you can, do
Yeah.
you want to leave a couple here? Thank you. Thank you.
thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. I believe we have a public hearing on the proposed budget amendment for fiscal year 2025-26. So I'll open that. Do we have any discussion on that? If not, I'll close the public hearing. New business? Consider resolution in approving the budget amendment for fiscal year 2024-2025.
Any questions? I detailed it all out pretty much in the memo. Wasn't as much as what we did last year, so that's a good thing. You guys have any questions about anything?
Not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and support, thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
We need to do a roll call for that
Roll
one.
call, sorry.
That's fine. Crowner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lees.
Aye.
Young.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 2, presentation of zoning code updates by Bolton Mink, and consider setting a public hearing date to consider amendments.
Support.
Motion and support. So we'll have our presentation.
This is the same, pretty much the same presentation that you guys heard if you came to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. So Franny's just gonna try to answer any questions if you had any when you went through the zoning regulations. We did pull off the subdivision regulations. There's just a couple things when I was trying to just kind of apply some situations to the zoning, the subdivision section that I just kind of wanted to go over with her. So hopefully we can get that kind of straightened out and back to you later, but
Really, so the goal tonight is, if you have questions for Franny from a professional perspective, feel free to ask questions, or staff as well. I guess my goal would be to collect however many, 4 or 5, or whatever it may be, discussion items that council may have, unless you're good to go tonight. And then bring those back for a more in-depth discussion with council on those items. We can provide you more information. So if you have any specific questions for Franny, she's up on the screen here, and more than happy to answer questions, or staff, and then we could certainly put that list together as well.
I'm gonna pass down her presentation here.
Guess the one question I have for Annie is, I think there's current legislation that's affecting the ADUs, and will the current plan address that or incorporate whatever the state passes, or where's that at?
Sure. I'm assuming it's Melanie. Hi.
Hi.
So it was adopted May 1st, signed into law. The current ordinance does not conflict with it. There were a couple of things that were up for discussion, like owner-occupied versus renter-occupied. That was discussed at Planning Commission. And as a result, that specific item, you can't make the ADU or the primary dwelling on the same lot as the ADU be owner-occupied. So that kind of resolves that discussion, at least at Planning Commission. But as far as actual law, I've read through it, got my team reading through it, and so everything that's in the zoning code proposed aligns with what is allowed in state law. Also, if anything does conflict, I don't think it does, but if it does, there is a section in that new law that says any conflicting measures are void. So really that law is higher, will take more precedence than anything that would be in your code. But from what I can see from my perspective, nothing conflicts. So you'd have to permit accessory dwellings on a lot with a single-family home, and there are a couple other things saying that things that you cannot restrict, essentially. You can adopt language that's more permissive if you desire, but right now it's in line with what the state is proposing.
The original discussion was adding separate ADU units rather than having to attach them to the home, with the goal of that being for the owner-occupied homes. But under the new statute, that can't be restricted.
In other words, you could have a person who rents the home to live in the house and still have an
Well,
accessory dwelling unit there,
Somebody
right?
could own a rental unit and put an ADU in the backyard,
Okay,
when our original intent was to provide that for owner-occupied homes, given the percentage of rentals that we have in the community, 47%. There are other things that we could consider. I believe there's only one other community in the state that limits or restricts the amount of rental properties. I believe that's Iowa City. And the city attorney did take a quick look at this as well. The only other option was to consider setbacks as a method to restrict ADUs, I guess, in that fashion. But otherwise, our current code did meet the requirements.
Well, I appreciate all the time you've taken with me and listened to my suggestions, and I'd like to take one more full read through and make sure we're all working from the same copy while we do that. So I'd rather not just approve and move on tonight. But I want to make sure, kind of as we go forward, maybe lock this version, and anything else that's going to change in the future is like on a separate change sheet. So we make sure everybody's looking at the exact same thing here going forward. But otherwise, I think we're real close. I don't really have anything specific tonight. I think all my issues have been addressed.
If there are major changes or substantial changes, then the process would start over with planning and zoning and then come back to council. If they're not considered substantial, then city council could continue forward as is. So.
Well, I too want to look this over and kind of pick it apart, for better words. I think there's a lot of good stuff in here. I think there's a few items that I have questions on. One of them is the chicken thing. You have that so restrictive that you have 2 chickens in a person's backyard, period. You know, by the so many square feet per, and I think that's just doing what we talked about, what I talked about the first time about not having chickens in the city. I think that it should be more chickens per square feet.
The original consensus or the original ordinance or draft limited chickens to ag and R1 large lots. And the current ordinance includes R2 and R3 and R4 as well. Back in, so the question ultimately is, do you want, one, do you want chickens in backyards? 2, do you want to limit it to ag and perhaps R1, which was the original draft based on the process that we went through and the comments that we received? Or do you want to include it in all those, the additional residential districts, R2 and R3, where there are currently chickens that council has approved, and then we have a few that we're following up on that do not have approval?
As it sits now, it's more of a compromise between let there be chickens and keeping some restrictions on the chickens to make sure there's minimal impact. I would say it's up to you as city council to discuss that maybe a bit more and come to a conclusion on what you think is best for your residents. But then happy to incorporate whatever decision is made.
Randy, was this model based on Burlington or a different model? Do you remember?
There's a lot of Burlington language. I don't think this was one of them. I think it was maybe a larger municipality that I pulled this one from. But then it was definitely tweaked to incorporate all the feedback that I received based off of lot size, based off of how many chickens we want. So verbatim, it's not from anywhere. But I believe it was from, I'm going to say Cedar Rapids, if I'm remembering correctly, but this one specifically not Burlington, no.
Thank you.
Burlington's is much, much more lenient than this one. And you kind of know what the lot size were downtown and as you were doing this. So can you tell me how many is allowed in a normal place at this setting?
Most of your R3 is about 6,000 square feet lots or under. So your max amount of chickens that you would have in an R3 lot, if you were at least 6,000 square feet, that's going to be 3 hens. A lot of those lots don't meet the 6,000. It's right about like 5.5. So it would be 2 hens. I know some of this planning commission, but you don't really want to have just 1 chicken. They do react well to a friend, so it's good to have at least 2. But limited to that 2 to 3 in R3, and then it jumps up from there based off of lot size in R2 and R1 and ag.
Yeah, so most of the downtown would be 2.
Those lots are really close together, aren't they? I mean, that's part of the problem. Whether your neighbors like chickens or not.
Well, it's no more of a problem than whether your neighbor likes a dog that barks all night long too, you know? So if you want to go down that road, we will. The dogs bark, they yell, they scout, they bite people, they take people to the hospitals, and chickens don't. So, okay, just letting you know.
Well, if we're gonna limit chickens, then we need to limit kitties. Kitties could be on a property.
We do, it's 4, right? We have a limit.
I haven't ever produced these.
Strays is a whole different issue, though.
Yeah.
I don't see, I'm just clicking around on GIS, I don't see hardly anything lower than 6,000 square feet, even over where you're at, Teresa, is 4,000.
The older.
I'm not, if you look at this map, that's in this guy, the R3s are those orange, they're highlighted as orange, which would put, that's a lot of our city. I mean, I'm just looking at the attachment here, maybe it's inaccurate, but.
But per lot.
Yeah, exactly, that would, the orange to me indicates R3, which are lot sizes that are smaller, right? If am I interpreting our information right? Okay, R3 is a small lot, so that tells me that whole chunk area that's orange on there, you get 3 chickens.
3.5.
Sure, 3.5, I'm good with that. Which end you want, Andy?
Tasty.
That's Sunday dinner, right?
So really, I guess the 2 questions, or 3 questions. 1, do you want chickens? 2, do you want to limit it to ag and R1 as originally proposed through the whole process? Or do you want to include ag R1, R2, and R3? And then if you do include them, by what numbers you'd like to include for those areas? So something to think about.
Yep.
And we'll need to make a decision on that before we bring it forward.
Okay.
No, I'm not going to sit here and say I want 20 chickens in the backyard. I'm not doing that. But, 4 or 5 chickens is usually not an issue if you're going to have them. So, I don't know if we have to go by square foot or just put a number on them, and then the number is a whole lot easier to enforce. Hey, you walk into the place, they got 5 chickens, and if they got 10, have dinner for 5. I'm just saying, it's better if you just have a number. And
The thing I like about this, and I don't want any of them, but the thing I like about the number is it lets the guy out on gear that's maybe got 2 acres have more than Teresa's neighbor with 6,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that. I don't want any of them, but I kind of like that if you're going to do it.
But that guy out there is probably going to be in not residential area. It's going to be in a.
In an R1.
It's going to be in a different zone than the residential.
It's going to be an R1.
Residential 1, a big lot.
Or B1, B2. My place, B2.
Yeah. Most of those are R1s.
Well, can we come to a consensus on this portion of it? So, or do you want time to look this over or think through some more?
I'm not ready to approve the entirety of it,
I was just trying to focus on the chickens is all.
Well, I think what Greg said, I'm on board with that. Ag, yes, R1, yes, R2, yes, R3, yes, we can have chickens, just figuring out the right number. One isn't right. I know that. And 12, a dozen chickens on a small lot seems too many.
I agree.
So somewhere in the middle's the answer, let's figure that out. So we just gotta figure that out. That's
So
all
we're
I
gonna
got.
do that tonight or some other time. I think we need to talk about it. myself.
Well,
What if you just change that 2,000 to 1,500 and
about 1,000. That way it's 1,000, one egg, 2,000 feet, two eggs. It's two chickens. I'm
I think you're gonna find that's a little high.
sure, I don't know chickens that well.
It'd be 6 on a,
On a R3 lot.
On the smallest lot.
Well, you need 2 days then to get a full dozen of
But if you
eggs.
did
They're
15.
laying full and that's,
4, which seems like a reasonable
On the
amount.
smallest lot.
On the smallest lots.
I'd do that.
4, and then work your way up from there?
1,500 square
Sure.
feet gives you one chicken.
can I have it in my
So
apartment?
if you,
So then you can have up to 4.
so you could have up to 4
If
on,
they're
on 6,000. That's an additional 1, which seems so bad.
Okay,
6,004, and then on up from there?
sure.
Yeah.
That works, I can live
I
with
just
that.
clicked around.
If it's,
I think Teresa's area is kind of the smallest lots in town that I'm aware of, and they were all over 6,000. They were just over.
I'm okay with that.
Seems like John's okay, so let's move on.
This would also not make it so that they come back to the council whenever they want chickens. This would just start
let
them.
them have your 4 chickens.
But they do have to follow the rules.
They have to get a
No-
permit,
no
but it wouldn't,
roosters.
right now,
Get a
it comes to council because they're not permitted anywhere
0,
without
yeah.
council specifically approving them, so.
Are there other major discussion topics that you'd like to either, or
We did
basic
the
questions that you'd like
ADU.
to ask Franny tonight, or general items of discussion, or items that you'd like more information on?
I left my list at home. I picked up everything else, but I left the list that I had questions on at home. One of the questions I had, was in I-1 and I-2, there's no requirement except for where you drive or your parking for dust-free, but you're not going to B1 or B2 with that same proposal.
There's a hard surfacing requirement, asphalt, concrete, or similar product.
In
Right.
I-1, it's only where, the proposal is where,
So I believe it also has to be fenced. I don't know, Franny, do you have those off the top of your head? But
Off the top of my head, no. Let me see. So there are screening requirements for all industrial uses, so those are both of the districts. Let's see.
I believe it was parking areas would still have to be hard surface. Storage areas could be fenced and not have hard surface, correct?
outdoor storage in I-1 and A2, or I-2, if screened from the view.
Right. That's storage. They still have to,
Okay.
for parking out front.
Only other areas driven must be permanent dust-free,
Right.
and
Driven on, okay.
somewhere I read that you don't have to have.
It's pretty
And I'm
consistent
okay
with
with
our
that,
areas. It's
But
pretty
I think
consistent with the
B2
town
ought to
right
be the
now.
same way.
But in those industrial areas, there's a mix of both. But in business districts, closer to residential and residential districts, the hard surfacing requirement remains for durable and dust-free.
So it's already there then for the businesses, okay.
But is that restrictive? I can think of 2 or 3 places that, wait a minute, let me ask it. If it's screened in, is it okay? Does it not have
For
hard
storage.
surface?
The section you're talking about is for storage in industrial, and it has to be screened. If it's not hard surface, that,
Does any driving surfaces have to have the hard?
those are storage areas, so they're parking area out front for vendors, staff, folks coming to their business, that would be hard serviced. Storage areas, for example, in the back would be screened and could be something other than a hard surface.
Okay. And that's in I-1, I-2? B1, B2?
Not B, sorry. And certainly don't think it should be, personally. I mean, you've got several business districts off of Agency Street over here. I mean, these are areas that you want to have, want them to be inviting in your community. And personally, I think that durable and dust-free. Yes, we have stormwater issues, and there is a chapter that deals with stormwater as well. I guess that's personal opinion.
There ought to be a mechanism that a person could, because I can think of a dozen places, and I really don't want to name them, but I can think of a dozen places that there could be a semi that pulls in and parks for the night, you know, because, and then they get in the truck tomorrow and they leave, or 3 days from now they leave. And it's not hard surfaced, and I don't really see, it's far enough out of town, but it's still in the city where that's an issue, and I would.
Well, if it's existing, it's grandfathered.
Yeah. You just don't want any new one.
If it's existing, it's grandfathered. But for Broadway and Agency, and then that whole area, there used to be 3 different standards for folks or for businesses directly adjacent to each other or backing up to each other. That's not appropriate in that district. Now we have it's a more consistent standard. But if you currently have are not hard surfaced, you wouldn't be grandfathered in. Now, if that use changes, then the requirement would kick in.
Okay. Want to make sure that's clarified.
I missed anything, Franny?
I think you got it, Greg. We have separate screening requirements for business uses, separate screening for industrial uses. But like you said, anything existing, it would become legal non-conforming. And so then there's a whole section of how to address anything that's legal non-conforming. The idea is to bring it into compliance eventually, but it can stay as is until something changes.
Do I understand the council's desire would be to look this over and then come back next session and set a hearing for that? Okay.
Ideally, if you have an item or two or whatever it might be, if you could send those to us, we can provide a written response in preparation for the meeting. That would be ideal, so that we could have a more thorough discussion. So if you could get those to us by the end of next week, that would be ideal. That way we can provide a proper response and we can have a good discussion that night.
Sounds good?
Sounds good. All right, appreciate it. Thank you, Franny.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Just close that. Yep. All right. Item number.
We have a motion and a second for that.
Oh.
So we just need to, I think you need to.
Table?
Make a motion, to table setting the date for a public hearing.
Yes. Okay.
Or amend the motion to table is fine.
Table until next session. Okay.
I amend my motion to table till next meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion's tabled. Consider the first reading of an ordinance setting water rates. So that one, we want to have some information ahead of time.
So Kelly put this together yesterday. I think it's a pretty handy summary sheet that she put together. I'm going to let her run through it, and it gives you the options for, it shows you the options we discussed for water and sewer as a basic 3% increase, And then for sewer, it has the 1750 option that council discussed. For water, there's a couple different options with base rates included as well, so.
All right, I think the last meeting, somebody asked what the whole bill was going to look like. I think.
Okay, yeah.
And so that's what I would try to do with this. So the very top row is the current rate structure, and then I have under gallons, a total bill for 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, clear up to our million gallon user. So that was just what an individual total bill would look like. That's with the current rate structure. The second one is option A. That's where we talked about the water having a 3.6% increase and a sewer having a 5% increase on the current rate structure. And if you go across to the far right side under option A, if we change those rates, in yellow there, our yearly revenue, approximately 55,980 we would see a revenue increase of for water and 69,800 for sewer. And then under, just to the right of that, we need about 54,000 and 76,000 is what Angie budgeted that we would receive. So that one makes us a little bit short of what we actually would need to meet what we budgeted. Is that correct, Angie?
Yeah.
Okay.
So just the sewer rate only, if we just do that 5% sewer rate increase, we come in short about $7,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Except, this isn't exact.
Keep in mind, this is just based on an average gallon for one customer at a time. So it's the numbers are varying because of usage.
Straight percentage increase provided is, when looking at all users, provided sufficient revenue to cover our expenses. That's why those rates were proposed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't get hung up on the fact that this projection in
Those
yellow.
end numbers are going to be slightly off when you look at the whole picture for our total revenue. This gives you a good idea of what each user at those levels will pay.
Yeah, and that's when we go back to the low user, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know where it comes from.
So under option A there, and monthly increases over the current rate, that $2.93 for a 1,000-gallon user, $3.54 for a 2,000-gallon user. Those are what your main residential customers, that's the usage range in there, and that's what they would see as a monthly increase.
And that incorporates, it looks like, the increase for the garbage
Yes.
and the recycling also?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And then option B was where we kind of got creative with some of our base rates and things like that to do away with the 3,000 gallon minimum on water. And the bottom line there, you're going to see creates kind of a substantial increase impact for your residents monthly for that one. It does generate a lot more money on this in those areas, but that's more than what we've budgeted to receive.
And that was at $17.50.
That was making the water base $15, doing away with the 3,000 gallon minimum usage and just starting to charge $14.28 per 1,000 gallons. And then the sewer base, increasing that from $11.12 to $17.50, and then just having your rate per 1,000 gallons at $12.15.
Am I not remembering this right? Didn't we already decide that that's the way we wanted to go on sewer?
Well, we have talked about lots of different options.
When we left last meeting, it was go to 1750 base on sewer with no percentage increase, and we wanted to see the numbers on the water change, because Melanie wanted to see if we could induce less consumption on water by going to a base rate on water.
Option B includes a base rate.
Right.
On water.
Yeah, option
B now includes a base rate on water of $15, and then it's on
no
per
change
1,000
in
gallons rather than the $33 for 3,000 gallons. So that's in the example. However, that generates significant additional revenue.
I thought part of that, though, was that 1428 was gonna come down slightly, not to produce that much extra revenue.
Well,
But-
let's, if you don't mind, skip
Yeah,
to the next
go ahead.
page, and you'll see a better example, more palatable
So-
example.
So option 3, we did, this is just this 3% increase on water, and it would generate the 55,980, which is, covers what Angie said is needed, or budgeted to receive. But we did adjust the sewer base for option C and made it 1225 instead of 1112. And then we changed the rate to 1276 per thousand. And that will end up generating for sewer 78,000, and Angie budgeted to receive additional 76,000. So that gets us really close, and it also doesn't have the big impact on your poor residential users.
This, to me, is going back to the hour discussion we had about having a flat rate hookup fee and why we wanted to do that and why these two things are different and the sewer and the water's different. Like, to me, we're going back and rehashing a discussion we just
I
had.
do think that the water, we need to look at a different rate structure.
Yeah.
And the proposed ordinances that are on the agenda there eliminates those top 2 tiers from the rate structure. That the only, there's just nobody in that rate, there's nobody in those 2 rate tables except your couple big highest users. And they would just pay that same $14.79 per thousand, rather than getting a drop as they use more. So that's gonna generate a little, this calculation, the formulas that Katie had in there didn't allow me to put that in there. It wasn't significant, but there's just kind of no reason to keep working with those 2 extra steps.
I guess first question, do we need to rehash this base sewer rate thing again? I thought we were all in agreement last meeting.
No, the
This
base,
is-
the base sewer rate at 1750 is on there, it works. The water is more complicated, and it's not coming out in the fashion, in a similar fashion as sewer. And it puts, it reduces significantly the amount the low-end user is paying. It increases substantially the amount that the mid-user is paying, midpoint user. There's a summary sheet that Katie had put together to kind of describe some of the issues and some of the other items that should be included. So it doesn't work as smoothly in the rates with that 50, with the base rate as that sewer rate, base rate at 1750.
So I guess my expectation was that all options would have the option B sewer on there. The 1750 base rate, we all agreed to last meeting. That was done. And then we were gonna look at options of adding a base water rate and different rates with that. So that 1428 wasn't set in stone. We could go down a little bit on that to make our income match.
I don't think it's gonna do that, but
What do you mean?
You substantially reduce that, what is it, 400 and some users that are under 3, or is it not? Most of our you substantially reduce the amount that the low-end user is paying. You put the burden on your users that are using 3,000 and up, and they see a substantial increase in this model.
That's not my argument at all.
Right.
All I'm saying is, right now, if we go to a base 15 at the 1428, option B, you're saying we're raising too much money. I agree with you. We're taking too much money. We don't need that much. We shouldn't take it. If you reduce that 1428 but keep the base, reduce it 10 cents, 5 cents, I don't know what the number is, to get down to about the same revenue number, that should work out.
You may get to a similar revenue number, but you're still shifting the burden in the in the process by doing so. Your low-end user is going to see a pretty good decrease, and your midpoint user is going to see still going to see a substantial increase. Those midpoint users are going to be carrying the burden, and the folks that were currently using $1,000, $2,000, up to $3,000 that were paying $33 are going to be substantially less.
Right, but we didn't choose that $15. Whoever made this chose
Right,
that
but-
$15. That could be $30. I don't know what that number is. That's what we wanted to discuss.
So yeah.
Well,
It could be 20, right now they're paying
25,
30
let's say,
some.
yeah.
Right now they're paying 33.87,
Yeah.
right? So we were saying bring that down from that.
to 15, or what?
He didn't say that.
Thinking of
I mean, is that
$25.
We wanted options.
25?
Let's say, I'm throwing that, pulling number out of the sky, some number lower than $33.87 and some number higher than 15, so the burden isn't moved so much to the mid users, and the low users are still carrying some of it, but getting a,
We looked at 15, we looked at 20,
okay.
20, there's 3 or 4 different ones that she's got in her model.
Yeah, if
They
that's
were all
20
doing that
and the
same
rate's
thing.
14.20 a gallon, what's that look like? If it's 25 and the rate's somewhere in there is the right answer, and I'd need a spreadsheet.
I'm going to try to pull up her spreadsheet.
Yes.
Just keep in mind that we almost lost a senior citizen place because of the water rate. That's what you came up to us and told us and tried to get it changed. And do I want to make it harder for the higher end users to come here? I don't, okay? So is there, and do we need to raise more than what we need? No, we don't. How we get there, I'm not positive. There's several options that does the same thing. But then there's options here that gets us way more.
Water essentially.
I'm rather tired of every time Burlington raises the rate that we have to reinvent the wheel. We need something here that if it goes up 4%, that we raise 4% and we're done, okay? We invent this thing over and over, at least 5 or 6 times since I've been on the council, counting the time before in here. And it's silly. Come up with a program that increases it, what we're being raised, we're making the right amount of money, we move on.
You've got that in your current structure. The question is, do you, and that's why we originally just had the 3.6% increase and a 5% increase. Boom, done. No changes in your structure. The question was, is there a way to factor in a base rate in water and sewer that gets us to a similar place? It's a little bit more complicated. You do have a base rate with water. It's the $33 and change, but it's for 3,000 gallons. It's not on a per 1,000 gallon basis. So you do essentially have a base rate, but it's for 3,000 gallons. And by doing that and maintaining that, it keeps your structure's intact, and the increases are proportional and appropriate. But if you want to switch to a base rate in water, it's not as simple as it looks. I mean, we can pull up the spreadsheets, et cetera, but we've looked at a number of different options. And I guess my thought is we can continue to plug in those numbers in. Is it more appropriate to continue as is with the water, set the 1750 sewer base rate, if the goal is to establish a new base rate there? And if you want to redo the structure.
I'm going to push back on this because this is not that hard. You have the spreadsheet there.
Yep.
You play with those two numbers a little bit till you get to the revenue you want that has a little higher base rate, and you're done. I mean, I don't think it's that complicated.
And then it's the same the next time. It's the same the next time.
No, after that, you're good to go.
That's what I'm saying. It's the same way the next time, the next time, the next time.
You've got the structure in place, you just add the percentage on top. Right now, we're just trying to get it where sewer and water kind of have the same structure to it.
But what we're doing, Andy, in the option B thing, we're saying, hey, if you use 3,000 gallons and 4,000 gallons, we're gonna double your rate.
No, that's just because he's got these numbers
triple your
plugged in
rate.
here that nobody's saying those are good numbers. You change both those numbers, all that changes.
So I wanna see that. I wanna see option B, changing numbers to get us to the $70,000 or the $55,000.
Does option C do that?
That doesn't have the base, that's,
That's not changing
That just
the base
maintains
water.
their current
Got it,
base
okay.
at 33 and change.
Changing the sewer.
But at a minimum, with the 3,000 rather than on a per 1,000 gallon basis.
I do think that maybe we need to look at the whole rate table, and I think we can definitely do that. But I think it's gonna, we need some more time. To create the tables and the classes and things like that Katie's trying to work with when she was doing it. The formulas are kind of insane.
Well, I'm not gonna go,
Well, let's send it back to the drawing board.
I'm not gonna go along with
We
option
can't
B.
beat this horse any longer, but, you know,
C does accomplish what you budgeted, the numbers that you budgeted to receive.
I might go along with option B with a different formula, but I'm not gonna go along with what's on there for the normal people.
well, I don't want to buy liquid gold either.
Right.
no,
there's gotta
the
be-
water's not right. The sewer's fine.
Because I don't want my bill to increase another $31 when it's
Exactly.
already atrocious.
Exactly.
I can't wait to kick my granddaughter out. Make it cheaper.
Exactly, Trace.
Well, we still have a wee bit of time yet.
So essentially, you're wanting option B with a different water rate.
But you have to have
So that
3
we-
readings of that ordinance is the thing, so we're
You still have.
getting, next time would be, could do the first and then the 2 in June.
Okay.
Well, and on that, if we're looking at option B, you gotta get that base rate, both the base rates messed with. So that we don't
So
earn
that
so
we're-
much money in the formula. Just change the base rates on water base rate and sewer so that we only earn $55,000 and $69,000 and not $173,000, $118,000.
And I think you're good on sewer.
With option,
B.
So option B sewer is what we all agreed to in that last work session. We all said, yeah, that makes sense.
1750. Yep,
And then we
that's
said,
right.
let's look at the water, looking at it the same way, so that there's still a reason to conserve water.
Do you,
We were gonna raise it from 12 to 17 is what we said.
But there's also, I mean, there's any number of things you
Everything was gonna
could,
be fine and dandy.
Yep.
Sewer.
We
Leave
just
the water
wanted-
alone.
We just wanted to look at water the same way,
just,
because Melanie thought, hey, if we had that structure where
Incentivize
you
people
could
to
save
conserve,
money by using less water, let's look at it that way.
my concern, Andy, in your statement that the base rate at $17.50 is, we agreed on that, is it's generating $118,000 when we say we only need about $76,000.
And maybe, and maybe that number needs to be 15.
But I don't know this spreadsheet. Angie,
Okay.
the spreadsheets we had the last meeting in that work session, 1750 hit the revenue number we needed.
Okay, and I'm just saying here it's not, if I look at this.
it does for sewer. Sewer's down below.
118,438 yearly,
And what's our need?
69,845.
I don't think so.
What am I missing? What am I misunderstanding?
I think we need 126, 295, 36. Is that correct? This number right
Need a-
here?
I don't,
Angie, this morning, that's what, 76,335 is what.
that's what this is, oh, right here, this number, this is what we're saying we need, right here? 76,000.
Yeah, 76,000.
I left mine at home.
Remember, our ending fund balances for both water and sewer were both less than $1,000.
I don't think I
based on
did.
based on those changes.
I didn't bring it with me, Andy. So.
I just know, last meeting, whatever the number was, that's what we all said, that one matches.
There's another, I mean, there's any number of things you can also change. You can do an increase in scale so that the high-end users pay more. The problem is, most of our users are small, so you could start at 20,000 perhaps, or 10,000, and increase those rates and reduce, keep the rates 10,000 and below lower, and then you have a higher rate for 10,000, 20,000 on up. You could do that as well. I mean, there's a number of ways to address that. Historically, we've had a decreasing scale, which does not promote a reduction in water or usage or sustainability, whatever you want to call it. Now, an increasing scale, on the other hand, per thousand would, if you start that probably around 10, 15, at 20, I think, at 20,000, I think we had like 20 users,
Yeah.
something like that. So it doesn't, the impact is very minimal, but. This first spreadsheet, that, she was last time allow for the 22, the 20, the 15 in there.
I don't remember. I've looked at so many of them.
Would allow it for the change in the
The rates need to change.
I can't make.
1428.
Well, I can't make her spreadsheet. I can't change
I'm
that
not
on the
against the
spreadsheet.
principle.
I have to have her do something because she's got
The rate.
some issues with
Otherwise,
this.
I'm gonna go with A or C.
Table this and move on.
Yeah, we
Close to
haven't had,
looking at
we didn't have a motion on this one because we were going to have this discussion first, so.
We want to make sure we get it right. The first time, yeah, we want to make sure we get it right.
So can we go on here and come back with some
Different numbers in our next council meeting.
different looks and different figures and get it to us before the
What,
meeting?
is there a particular number you want to, like, try, for sure, like, you want me to try in there?
Well, I guess number one, to finish the sewer then, if this is now the sewer number that needs to be hit, then the 1750 needs reduced down a little bit to hit the correct sewer number.
To hit 76,335.
If that's the correct number.
Yeah.
And then,
Option sheet.
and then water, I would try putting, hey, if the base is 20 and we know our revenue, what's our gallon percentage need to be to make that math out? You with me? Now try the same thing at 2250. We know our revenue number, what's our gallon dollar gotta be at to make that math out? Give us three options.
Angie, do you want to confirm that the amount
I'm
that
looking
we
at-
need? And then I will give that to Katie and we'll,
To Teresa's
I found this
point,
thing that Andy's talking about.
to Teresa's point, it looks like if you look, the sewer on option C, so option C, the sewer, shows $12.25. And that earns $78,244, which is pretty darn close to the need of $76,335.
But that's with a 5% flat increase too.
no, not for sewer.
Not for sewer.
Just the sewer.
Sewer
The
is,
sewer rate,
Why does it say increase
Well-
base to 1225 and rate by 5%?
Options.
what did you say? I guess-
That's
I'm sorry,
water.
I got.
The brown one is the one they're looking at, the sewer rate, which is
It is, it's
12.25,
5%
right?
over the 11.
yes. What you're saying is right, you're both right, we're all both right.
I'm sorry.
He's reading the
I
red
looked
part.
at so many
You betcha.
numbers here, but the option C does make that base more than 5%.
Okay.
The base is
Okay.
gonna be more than 5%, and but the rate is 5%.
Gotcha. It's 11, taking the base on sewer from $11.12 to $12.25.
11.12,
So whatever that is.
from 11.12 to 12.25.
But that goes back to the entire argument from the work session that we wanted to have a higher base rate on the sewer. That was agreed
I
upon.
don't think you need to,
last
though.
time.
But I don't think you're gonna need to, just because I think it's gonna generate more than what you need.
Not if I don't take a 5% increase.
You're going to reduce the.
You
per
take the
thousand
1276, leave the 1276 at 1215.
Okay.
gallons. Or some other lower number.
Or leave it at
Using
12,
a
whatever
higher-
the number is.
Using a higher base, and then that don't think of it as 3.5 or 5%,
But we were getting the wrong
but
figure.
that per thousand
But
gallon
now-
number is
No,
gonna be less
this one
than
might be
12
different.
bucks, or less than 12, 15.
We were
Something-
given
some
that
other number per
1750
thousand
was the
gallons.
magic number at the last meeting,
Yeah.
and that's what it was gonna be.
Sewer is
When
17.
they poked it in at 1750, it's
And
generating
rate
way too much.
lower
And if
than
it's the case, we
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
need
if you use the 15 or whatever.
Yeah, so we reduce
What-
that
what-
number down, we don't
what
go
is
back
the-
and add.
what is that per
5%.
thousand?
I know, I've got the document we're talking about, and
Okay.
that's 1750, with the 1250 overall.
12.15?
$12.15, I'm sorry. On the one that I got on the first, generated
Yeah, okay.
1,490,355.
And now it's got an extra 25,000 on it. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's because on the one we did at the council meeting, we did not change the base rate. Our base rate today is $11.15. No, I take that back. We did. We were saying $11.68 was gonna be the base rate increase, and the consumption rate went to $12.76. I said that backwards. Sorry. Today's $11.68 base rate, right?
No, 12.15.
Current at $11.15 for the base is what's showing on this piece of paper. Same base rate's $11.15, current rate
No, the base isn't the number, it's the next one.
$12.15 per thousand.
Right.
It's the current.
$12.15 is the hookup cost.
No, 11.12 is.
Would you pick a higher number here and reduce these numbers?
Connection fee.
That's sewer.
Are you talking water now?
That's all we're talking.
Whatever it is.
Okay, I can.
With the sewer at 1750, what does this rate
Well,
need to be?
either
You lower
way-
this rate here,
So
and then this one, you come up with a number here.
I don't know what changed to make that be $25,000
Spreadsheet do that?
different. Okay. But we're all saying the same thing, that we want that base rate to get us to the revenue that we need on
What is the
sewer.
revenue we need? Let's confirm that, and then I'll just give it to Katie, and we'll do some other
But you-
finagling.
Well, the base rate is
You want a
what
higher,
C&B is.
but with a higher base
and lower
rate
rate
and
per
lower
thousand.
rate structure.
But you're not, when you lower the,
No,
when you lower
same base
the,
structure, or sorry, same rate structure on sewer with a higher base rate. That's what we all agreed to in the work session.
but you're only
1750.
getting that once.
We
You're not gonna
thought,
be
we
getting
thought
that
it was 1750
1,000.
based on the last numbers we got. Now, these numbers are $25,000 higher. We don't know why.
When you, if you increase the base and lower the rate per thousand, you're gonna end up with less revenue. You're only,
I'm-
because you're only getting that rate.
I'm not saying lower it.
Oh, not lower the rate then? Leave it 12.15 or 12.76?
Well, I have 12.15. 12.76 is option A with an
You
increase.
come up with a different number. here.
12.15, this was exactly what we all agreed to in the work session. Raise that number, the base up to 1750, match the numbers in the work session. Now the numbers are different. I don't know why.
And leave water rate the way it is.
I'm only talking sewer this second.
Yeah, but during your, while we're doing that, we're gonna leave the sewer, because it's the water and sewer bill. We're gonna leave the water rate the way it is.
Can we
They need
finish
to
the
be-
one so
What's
she's clear on there?
But you need to take into account, there's different classes, and so.
But they're all getting the same increase. All we're doing is
I
increasing the
understand
base.
that, but because of the classes with Beaverdale and all the other ones that are of different classes, there's gonna be a variance there.
So I'm,
No. If we all pay the same base rate, the same
Right.
$10
Said the total
bill,
revenue was.
it doesn't matter what class we're in, it's the base.
This is just the,
No, well,
Estimate.
Beaverdale wouldn't.
based on average
Well,
users. This is not the actual
yeah.
spreadsheet. Remember though, this, on your numbers, on your totals, this is an estimate using, this is a document, tried to simplify it, but it's using estimates based on average usage. It's not taking that same spreadsheet, so your ending number is, revenue number, your total is gonna be slightly off. That's why that's where you're 25,000 off. If you plug it into the full spreadsheet, it'll come out to what it was last time.
Okay,
Right.
then you're saying 1750 is still the correct number we need to hit the right revenue?
No.
I gotta verify which is the right exact revenue that we need, and then we'll take it and
Okay.
do some more tweaking with it.
Then do the same thing here, but you're gonna have to lower this.
The sewer, but the water is the one that you're doing away with the 3,000 gallons, and you're
Right.
gonna do
Just
a
have a
base
base rate.
rate, a higher base rate,
Higher base rate.
and a lower rate
rates.
per thousand.
Slightly.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll take much. And it depends on where you move that base rate.
Yeah.
But what we want to work with mainly is just a base rate and a per thousand for water and for sewer,
A higher base rate, yeah.
instead of any kind of scale or any kind of and eliminate the 3,000 gallons. So we'll do some more tweaking with option B.
With the same numbers coming up as A and C, because that's obviously what we need.
Revenue number.
Revenue
We
numbers.
should do a higher rate for the high-end users.
So take B and make it match basically
Do the higher
A and
rate
C.
for the Higher-end users still, you could still do that.
Correct?
Do you have any objection if we look at a higher rate for the high-end users in there as well? I'm not talking substantial, but something, it's more of a, rather than a declining scale that we've historically had, as you can see above on that first one.
It doesn't cost us less, I guess.
If you don't want General Electric to come to
Right.
come to West Burlington, or if you don't want,
They left. They're not coming.
but somebody's gonna come in that building.
I guess I'm just used to it. I've seen it argued so much the other way, that your high-end users need that break,
Oh.
it spurs development.
Back then.
That's been the declining scale has just been a policy decision for forever on that, for the high-end users, and, that's all it's been.
When you get the next company in, do they look at the water rates and they go, hey, look, Fort Madison's declining, Burlington's a declining scale, Mount Pleasant's a declining scale?
There are so many variations to
Senior
how
housing.
the bills are calculated that they're not all like that, but, yeah.
I mean, unless you're.
We do give the hospital does get a break because we group all of their meters together. So instead of starting over at that scale for every single meter,
Connection.
they're getting a break. So I think you eliminate the other break if you're gonna give them, if we're gonna consolidate all we don't have to do that. This new system that we got allowed us to do it, and so we did, but that did short us because we're not starting that new scale over for every single meter.
Can I make a suggestion that for the next meeting, so we can have a first reading, maybe just look at the step one of getting it to a base rate that works, that we all agree on? Then for second reading, we could look at, okay, using everything we just agreed to, now what do we think about changing the top end of the scale?
Well, then we'd have to have another,
it,
yeah.
adjust it, just a.
Well, we'd have to have another, we'd have to start over
I think we need
with
a different
readings,
discussion.
yeah.
But, so, if I could make a suggestion, then, on Katie's sheet here, there's some other things that she's suggesting as well that should be considered. Now, they're not gonna dramatically increase your revenue, but there's some different thoughts that she had on changes that could be made. So maybe we look at the high-end users and some of these items at a separate time after we get through this initial process. She had some good ideas on here that I think we should consider in addition to looking at the high-end users.
Can we have a work session, not this Monday, but the Monday before the next council meeting? Go over this so that we have some idea what numbers we're looking at
Before the,
on Wednesday. Because this
Should be the 19th of May.
This has turned into something that should have, was told one thing, another,
So, just a
And
work
I'm not-
session at 5 before the next meeting, is that what you said?
huh?
Work session at 5
What's it
before the
on
next
Monday?
meeting?
On Monday.
Monday prior.
Monday, 5 PM.
This coming Monday?
The 19th,
Not this coming Monday, not 3 days from now, the Monday before the council meeting.
that'd be the 19th.
That way next Monday's open.
Yeah, yeah, next Monday
And
be
it gives
open.
time to get numbers and everything else. You can get us something sent, and we can talk about it.
I feel like we've talked about it, but I know we need to look at different water numbers when they come in, but I thought we were all kind of on the same page on the last work session.
But the numbers were,
I know,
obviously wasn't.
I know the numbers gotta adjust, but
The general gist of what we're trying to do.
Andy, that's a huge difference for most of our population.
not right.
That's why we need something.
That's like
That's right.
if I put an extra 1,000 on there, that's as wrong, it's not right.
And there is one more, if General Electric was here and they were using 10 million gallons of water a day, or a month, this would be different too, because it'd be raising X amount more revenue. But, so,
That's
we
a lot
can't
of
count
gallons.
on that because they're not here. But I'm just saying, if we set it without them and then it goes, then it's generating more revenue than,
Don't worry, we'll
We-
get another increase we gotta worry about, I'll cover that.
but if we set this so that it just generally comes with a general increase, if we go up 4%,
Monday, the
Burlington
19th.
charges 4%, we just go up 4%. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time.
Is that in June?
The connection.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to table items, number 3 and number 4.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That'll be at the next council meeting. So let's move on to the first reading of an ordinance setting the garbage collection rates.
Motion approved.
Support.
Motion and support. Roll call?
Johnson,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Covert,
Aye.
Crowner.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 6, consider the first reading of an ordinance setting recycling rates.
Motion approved.
Support.
Mayor, if I could just go back to number 5 for just a second. I want to say that I really think Levine's do a good job, and I'm
Appreciative of their,
I am appreciative of that. I'm very happy with them, so, okay.
I have a motion and a second on number 6. Roll call, please.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Covert,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
They also do a great job. Des Moines County folks do a nice job in recycling.
Recycling.
Yes.
Number 7, consider a resolution hiring a part-time police officer.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
Welcome back.
Yeah, I wish we could have him back full-time, but I think that's a great hire, and Jesse, good thinking as a stopgap.
Yeah, he spoke with me when he left that he would be always an option of coming back as part-time if we needed, and he brought it up again about a month and a half ago, and I said, we'll take you up on that option and just help us out.
Is there anybody else who could, anybody else?
I look every day, I ask people, try to recruit people I know, and so far it's coming up empty, so.
We're at the process right now.
We're starting all over again.
All over again.
Yeah, so it'll be the August Academy before we can get somebody in there if we hire somebody that's not certified, so.
Well,
He's a good officer.
Yep.
We're very fortunate to have him come back with us.
roll call, please.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Covert,
Aye.
Crowner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 8, consider a resolution setting salaries for the non-union personnel for fiscal year 25-26.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion and second.
Who's this? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the second.
Ringo.
Any discussion?
This is simply based on the budget, the 4% increase across the board for non-union employees to match police and public works unions. Please note, on the following resolution and the memo, there's a requested wage adjustment for the deputy city clerk that was put together as well. But that's the next item for discussion. But this is just our annual adjustment that we do in the spring. Or following the budget.
Okay, we'll call for a roll call.
Covert,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 9, consider a resolution setting salary for a deputy city clerk.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion and support. Discussion.
So let's put a pretty thorough memo on there. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So,
It's a long time coming. She's worked here for the city for how many years?
17.
17. She has grown with the job, and she's looking to get you retired and take your job. And
Yeah, I'm a little
she's
intimidated.
stepped forward, and anything you ask of her, she'll do, and
I think she's done
She's
an
that
excellent
first smile
job. I think
coming in the
She's been
door.
a good resource for Mark, for Chase, for the officers.
She handles public right as well.
She's done a lot for the officers. I used Katie a lot when I was on. I know the Officer Latron does too. I was talking to Greg earlier a little bit. I met Kelly the very first time, I think it was in the late 80s when I came in and I was buying some land. And then so how many years now in a row that we've had like just 2 city clerks and maybe then a percent, right after you, then it's be pretty incredible then, like 40 years, maybe only 3 city clerks.
This is my 34th year.
Good 4th year.
I think Katie, she is our face to the public. It's the first person many people encounter, and many of them on a monthly basis who pay their water bill or bills in person. And she just presents a very good image for the community.
she's our Hy-Vee smile.
She is.
I'll call for a roll call.
Crowner,
Aye.
Johnson,
aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Number 10, consider a resolution approving the end-of-the-year transfers for fiscal year 2024-2025.
Motion approved.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion on this?
Any questions? This is the boring part of the budget that you like to race through, but these are simply the transfers that we do on an annual basis from one fund to another so that to pay for things as budgeted. So there's a whole list that Angie has put together that she'll be making. This is done at the end of the year to pay for equipment or set money aside for capital, whatever it might be. But it transfers from one fund to the other.
Call for a roll call.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Covert,
Aye.
Crowner.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 11, last item on our new business. Consider entering into an agreement with Bowen Sack and Fromel LLP for fiscal year 2025's annual audit.
Motion approved.
Support.
Motion support.
Just one quick question. When was the last time we went out and got bids?
This is the last year.
So when we originally got them in 21, it was for the 3 years.
Okay.
And so this would be So we haven't gotten anyone in 3 years, but I don't know that.
I wouldn't recommend it. This firm does municipal work only. Schools, counties, and cities. They're the best auditing firm that I've worked with in years. Sarah, if you remember, came on board when the other firm left. They're more thorough. They educate during the year at no additional cost. They answer the questions at no additional cost. They'll sit down with the employees, go through the issues, or help find ways, or mechanisms to get things done. For the service that they provide, they don't just come in here, conduct an audit, and leave. They're available all year long to answer questions, whatever it might be. They do not charge anything additional for that. You'll never find anybody better than Sarah in the work that she does, based on my prior experience.
But the question was, when was the last time that we went out for bid?
We didn't go out for bid.
Necessarily take somebody, but.
We didn't go out for bid. I brought Sarah Bonsack and Frome out before council for consideration because of their experience in municipal auditing. We didn't go out for bid. I just simply brought it forward for council consideration. So, and I don't know if you've noticed a difference, but
I just wanted to know the last time we looked.
I couldn't.
I remember it was, Leslie was still here and we sent it out and we got, the state wouldn't do it, and then the CPA, the ones we had before, and I don't think we ever did get another one. We only had 2 responses, so.
I don't think CPA Associates is doing
They're not.
government work anymore either.
You don't want the state auditor to do it, and you typically wouldn't do an RFP, you do an RFQ based on their qualifications, which is essentially what we had done, or I'd done when we brought it forward to council before.
Okay, well, let me ask one last follow-up then.
Yep.
Do you remember, or maybe you can send this to me later, kind of the last couple of years, have we been going up 10% a year, 2% a year?
There's a slight increase each year in the contract.
Built into the
Yes.
contract, isn't there?
Yeah, we just don't, I mean, we could do another 3-year contract with them. This is just outside of the end of the last 3-year contract.
I don't remember what we paid last
I
year.
believe we started at 21, but we'll send it to you.
Their first audit in 2011.
How much
Okay.
was that one?
Send it to me later.
I would like to know if the general cost, like to Fort Madison or Keokuk is 10,000, no matter who they are, or versus these guys at 23,000. I'd like to know what somebody else is paying
From them or from?
from general,
From somebody else.
from someone else. So that I can have a general idea of, is this in line? It's not a question of their quality, it's a question of.
It will be in part because you're going to have 2 different users. You're going to have some small communities using local auditing firms that aren't familiar with municipalities and it's much more difficult to work with, and they're not able to provide the same advice that you have with a firm like this, or there's another one in the Quad Cities that I've used before. It's not going to provide the same level of service. There may be a different rate, but they're not going to provide the same level of service.
I think what
And
we're
that's-
both
and
saying
that's-
is,
and that's
yeah,
a-
we hear that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I understand.
If I'm getting more horsepower on my Challenger versus that Mustang that's beside me, that's okay. I pay more for it.
Right.
I just want to know what it is.
I just wanted to qualify between local and
Yeah.
municipal. Yep.
Yeah.
I simply need a voice vote on this. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Last item of new business. Therefore, I would entertain